Hello everyone, William here, and today we will be looking at Nope, released in 2022 and directed by Jordan Peele. The movie has 4 chapters. The movie opens with a shot of a slipper standing upright. A chimp is wandering around the set of a sitcom, where blood and a body can be seen. The chimp looks directly at the camera in a POV shot. We cut to a man, Otis Jr., OJ, feeding some horses. On the radio, we hear reports of missing hikers. In the next scene, OJ is speaking with his father, Otis Sr., who is hopeful that their new venture will work out, but OJ isn't convinced. OJ walks back towards the house when the power goes down. Suddenly, OJ looks up as a woman starts to scream from somewhere in the sky. Small metallic objects start falling down as Otis looks back towards his dad. Otis Sr. falls down from his horse's saddle. OJ rushes towards him and takes him to the hospital, as a coin went through Otis Sr.'s eye. Otis Sr. doesn't make it. Back at the ranch, OJ notices the horse is impaled by a key. 6 months pass by. OJ is on the set of a commercial with his horse, Lucky. One of the actors is concerned about OJ's name, but he tells her it stands for Otis Jr. One of the producers acts disrespectfully towards OJ. Unfortunately, spoiler alert, this guy does not die in the film. He tells OJ they have to do a quick safety meeting. Everyone clears the floor for OJ, but he is shy and awkward, and isn't doing a great job. However, his sister, Emerald, shows up and bails him out. Em starts the safety meeting and does well, but then she starts plugging in her side projects such as singing, acting, directing and motorcycles. As filming is about to start, the staff cross Lucky's boundaries and he kicks out. OJ, Em and Lucky are subsequently fired from the project. The Haywoods drive out to meet Jupe, a kid actor turned amusement park owner. OJ looks to sell Lucky to Jupe, just as he had sold several horses to Jupe. Before they can get on with the negotiation, Em interrupts them when she sees a framed photo. She asks Jupe about it, and it turns out, Jupe was actually a child actor in Gordy's Home, a 1996 sitcom that was cancelled because Gordy, the chimp we saw at the start, went cray-cray. Jupe takes the Haywoods inside a room where he has kept stuff from the show. He then says a Dutch couple paid him $50,000 so that they could spend some time in the room. As Jupe recounts an SNL sketch about the incident, in a flashback we see Jupe hiding underneath a table. On their way back, OJ reveals to Em Jupe had offered to buy the ranch. OJ doesn't want to sell the ranch, but Em thinks they should. At the house, Em talks about Jean Jacket, a horse Em was supposed to have, but Otis Sr. got a film and Jean Jacket was trained for that instead. OJ starts to tell her that their dad was hard-headed, and he changed the industry, but Em interrupts him by saying Ghost is in the arena. OJ goes to check on Ghost when Em plays music at a high volume. OJ tells her to turn the music down just as Ghost makes a run for it. OJ follows Ghost to Jupe's place. Jupe is speaking about being witness to something amazing for the past 6 months. Back at the house, the power suddenly goes out. OJ starts to feel something is off, when suddenly OJ gets back to the house. He speaks with them about how Otis Sr. died. Otis's death was put down to a prop plane breaking down, which didn't make sense to OJ. He then implies he saw something too quiet and fast to be a plane, a UFO. The next day, the two go to an electronics store where they get several cameras to capture the UFO. Em talks about getting the Oprah shot of the UFO that could get them some of that green. One of the staff members, Angel, knows something is up and tells them they will need his help to set up the cameras. Sometime later, Angel shows up at the ranch with all the equipment. Em realizes the installation would take a few hours, so she heads off to the store to get something. In the meantime, Angel sets up the cameras. He and OJ discuss the possibilities of alien life. Angel believes aliens exist as well as cover up conspiracy theories. Em comes back in a truck with a caravan attached. She had stolen a display horse from the amusement park, which OJ and Angel set up in the arena. Jupe comes by to the ranch and inquires about the display, but Em is able to convince him it is theirs. Jupe invites them to a live show which is in a few days. He then leaves. Angel asks Em and OJ what is going on, but they don't tell him. He also offers to monitor the cameras remotely, but they decline and Angel leaves. At night, with everything set up, the Haywoods start to play music again. OJ notices that the stable doors are open, and the lights are on. He goes into the stables and notices one of the horses, Clover, is missing. OJ shuts down the power and walks back. The power suddenly comes back up. OJ turns around to see an alien. He is about to record the alien when another one appears. He then has the most human reaction.
Nope. Mm-mm. Nope. No.
But then he decides to get the Oprah shot. An alien pops out next to him and he punches the shit out of it. However, the aliens are just Jupe's kids, trying to pay OJ back for the display case theft. M is about to go to sleep after checking the cameras when she gets a call from Angel, who is monitoring their cameras from the store. He tells M one of the cameras is down. Meanwhile, OJ finds Clover. He watches as the power at the house goes down. Clover bolts as whirlwind form around the display horse, which is then lifted into the air. As M shouts after him, OJ starts to run, the UFO on his heels. He makes it to safety, but Clover gets sucked up by the UFO. They don't get footage of the UFO as a mantis covered the camera lens. M talks about leaving and asks OJ to accompany her. However, he shuts her down by saying he has mouths to feed. M drops her bag, knowing they have no choice. In the morning, M calls Antlers, who was the cameraman on the commercial set. She tells him, they need him to take the impossible shot, but he declines, saying they will chase after this dream forever. Angel arrives in his van and after taking a quick look at the sky, shows OJ and M the footage from the cameras sped up. One of the clouds doesn't move and they theorize that is where the aliens are hiding. OJ questions if the UFO is a ship. In the next scene, we see the final take of the sitcom, Gordy's Home. The cast is filming the episode Gordy's birthday and Gordy receives gifts from his family. One of the gifts is a bunch of balloons. The balloons fly up and one of them pops. We then hear Gordy snap and his trainer lose control of him. We cut to Jupe hiding from Gordy underneath the table. He watches as Gordy bludgeons his fellow co-stars, Mary Jo and Tom. Gordy then looks at Jupe but Jupe is fixated on the shoe. Gordy makes his way towards Jupe and reaches out for a fist bump, but he is shot. In the present, Jupe thinks of the past as his wife helps him with his lines. Angel covers the cameras with tarp because of the impending storm. OJ picks a flyer for the live show left by Jupe. He figures it would involve Lucky, so he heads for the park. At the park, Jupe starts his show, which also includes Mary Jo, who survived the attack. Jupe tells the audience that for the past 6 months he has witnessed a spectacle and at 6:13 p.m. they would witness a flying saucer descend through the mist. The cover of the box is removed to reveal Lucky inside. Jupe says the aliens trust him. As he brings out his kids to do a dance number, a roar is heard in the distance. Jupe turns around to see the saucer approaching in its cloud ahead of time. Everyone stares and takes pictures, when suddenly the power goes out. Another deep roar is heard, and people start to scream as they realize they are not about to have a good time. Jupe stands transfixed as he gets surrounded by the whirlwinds. Next, we see people moving through a pipe, screaming and crying, hopelessly. OJ arrives at the park to find it deserted. He walks to the arena where there is a terrible mess. He finds Lucky but also the UFO among the clouds. OJ tries to usher Lucky towards him, but then the UFO descends towards him and, oh my god, that is definitely not a saucer. The UFO knocked out OJ. When he wakes up, it is nighttime, and Lucky is still alive. At the ranch, Angel finishes covering the cameras and heads towards his van. OJ calls M from the park and tells her the UFO isn't a ship. At the same time, Angel's van runs out of juice. OJ tells M the UFO is a predatory, territorial animal. The phones go down, indicating the alien is at the ranch. Angel gets back to the house and grabs a knife. Overhead, M hears screams of people and roars from the monster. Then the screaming stops all at once. The monster spits out the possessions of the victims and spews out their blood. OJ's truck shuts down near the ranch. The raining blood and roaring continues until the monster finally calms down. OJ thinks about getting out of the truck, but yeah. Just stay inside, bud. All goes quiet again for a while, but then. At dawn, the power comes back up and OJ gets to Angel's van. Angel and M run out of the house just as the monster reveals itself above them. Remembering that day on the set, OJ avoids eye contact with the monster. M and Angel get in and they all GTFO. At night, OJ explains to them eye contact makes the monster feel threatened. Next morning, OJ, M and Angel come back to the ranch for the horses and the Oprah shot. To their surprise, they find Antlers, who has decided to help them after watching a news report of the missing guests. OJ tells the group, the monster, now called Jean Jacket, settled down above the ranch because of Jupe. Antlers suggests using the horses as bait but OJ wants to do it himself. Antlers then tells OJ to draw out Jean Jacket into the open where Antlers will take his picture with a homemade camera that doesn't use electricity. Antlers and Angel set up the cameras on the ridge. When everyone is in position, M starts to play the music. They use tube men to deduce how close Jean Jacket is. One of the tube men goes down momentarily just as a motorcyclist arrives at the ranch. M goes down to meet him. The motorcyclist turns out to be a journalist, who questions M about the missing persons. M avoids answering, so the journalist rides towards the park when we see more tube men go down. The bike shuts down and the journalist goes flying. He manages to survive and OJ, riding Lucky, moves towards him. OJ tells the journalist to close his eyes, but he wants OJ to take a picture of him first. The digital cameras go down as OJ sees jean jacket reflected through the guy's helmet. OJ decides to leave the dude, who gets sucked up by Jean. OJ knows it's too late to run, so he instead looks down as the journalist's screams are heard. OJ survives. OJ starts to run to give Antlers a better shot. Jean is right on his heels, aggravated by the buttons on the hood. The digital cameras go down before they can capture Jean. OJ releases some flags for Jean to choke on, so that OJ can get away. The trick works as Jean flies away and OJ makes it to safety. Antlers takes the camera to higher ground. OJ and M start to protest, but Antlers looks directly at Jean as he tries to take the impossible shot. Antlers gets sucked up and dies. The footage gets destroyed in the process. Jean approaches Angel, but he gets knocked over by the gushing wind and a tarp. M looks at the scene and, in the process, draws Jean's attention. Jean blows out the shed and M is also yeeted. Angel wraps some barbed wire around his tarp. When Jean tries to suck him up, the barbed wire gets stuck in its pipe and it spits out Angel. Jean expands into a huge, jellyfish form as M tries to flee the scene. OJ tells M to get the bike and get away from the ranch. The bike doesn't power up since Jean is too close, so OJ and Lucky draw him away. OJ says one final goodbye to his sister and then looks directly at Jean. Jean sucks up and kills OJ and Lucky. The bike powers back up and M starts to ride towards the park. At the park, M releases the park's giant balloon mascot. Jean moves towards the balloon while M takes pictures using the park's well that has an analog camera. Jean eats the balloon just as M takes its picture. Jean cannot handle the balloon and it explodes. M rests near the well when, in the foggy distance, she sees OJ and Lucky. The movie ends with a photo of jean jacket, the impossible Oprah shot finally acquired. I know this movie got a lot of mixed reviews when it came out, but I think this is Jordan's second best film. You guys probably had a lot of questions after this film, such as why is Jupe just standing there like an imbecile? Why does this guy want to die, or why does Antlers go after Jean? First of all, Jupe is just standing there because in those moments he relives his trauma in the face of a dangerous creature and feels powerless. Antlers sacrifices his life because there were hints that he had an illness and would have probably died anyway, and he was greedy for the impossible shot. And yes, I do believe there are idiots out there who would say take a photo of me in this situation. Not going to name any names, but let's just say Louis Bloom knows who he is. But probably the biggest question is what was up with the chimp and the shoe and that whole storyline? The story of Gordy's home runs parallel with the rest of the movie. Chimps are not pets or submissive animals, they are strong predators and would attack if threatened, similar to Jean Jacket. Jupe survived the attack because his eyes were fixated on the shoe and not Gordy. Kind of like how OJ survived several encounters with Jean. Jupe, however, turns this trauma into profit, and so when Jean came calling, he thought he could tame it, but he definitely couldn't. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe if you did or even if you didn't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.